Looking at this tank for not washing properly, and we've got here just after it's washed, and it's at H15, so 15 is the highest temp it's logged during the wash, which is way too cold. But on these ones you can do a diagnostic with them really, or test run. So you turn them off, test, and it'll scroll through, and you can use the pause button to enable or disable the relay, so we could fire up a compressor. And then you can turn it off again by pressing the pause, and then you can scroll through. That's the other compressor. Cold valve. So that's working, and you don't need to pause it, you can just skip to the next one. So that's hot. Nothing coming out of there, and I can hear a hum, and we've got a booster pump here. Obviously it's not seized up, but it's not doing anything, so we'll take that apart and check the capacitor, because that's probably a favourite. So we'll turn that off. You can scroll through and do the acid pump, alkali pump, agitator, water pump, dump valve, and hypo. We haven't got a hypochlorite pump on here, but sometimes they've got a third pump to do a hypochlorite. Final rinse is like a sanitising thing. Anyway, let's get into that pump and see what we can find. Okay, that's reading 1.9 microfarads, and it should be a 10, so we'll try a new one on there. It must be fairly compact because there's not a lot of room, so we'll see what we've got on the van. Okay, it's a new one, reading 9.9. It's a 10, so it's good enough. So we get that wide in there, and keep your fingers crossed the pump's still okay. Okay, so moment of truth. It should. Not sure we're actually getting any power here. No power for some reason. Wasn't on properly on that switch. There we go, so the pump's working, and we know the solenoid valve's working because we've got water coming through. So there we go. Simple fix. So we'll probably put it on to wash, but I'll probably go through and check all the other things work. These tubes weren't changing because they've gone flat. So we'll do them, check the pump and the dump valve, because he did say there was water being left in there as well, so that could be if that valve's not opening. And then we'll put it on to wash. Right, changing the tubes in these pumps, that's the new tube in there. When you take the cover off, the peristaltic tube starts being pinched, and it's like a check valve. So if you're not careful, it can siphon out of the drum. So you want to pull the tube out of there, and that's where that chemicals leaked on the floor. It's dissolving all the concrete. So these stuffs are very highly concentrated. So you want to be careful. You don't want to get it on your hands. So you always want gloves and goggles and things. We've got this in some hot water, warming up, so we can get the cable ties cut, taken off, and then cable tie back up tight again while the tube's still soft, so you'll get a good airtight seal on there. and then we'll have to give that tube a rinse out before we do the next one, because the very last thing we want to do is be mixing acid and alkaline chemicals together in that tube. We'll end up gassing ourselves. But you can use that test function on here and run the pump and push a bit of hot or cold water through that tube to clean out the chemical in between doing the two. Sometimes I'll pull the tubes off of here first, but it just depends how what the tube looks like. Like this looks a bit old because that was red originally, so we want to warm it up before we start trying to do anything with that. Yep. Okay, there's different sorts of these tubes. This one's verdiprine or something like that, and there's stanoprine, some other ones. And what I find is if you get the non-verdiprine ones, when you push the tube holder, little nipple piece, it actually spreads the plastic here wider, and you want the ones that's going to slide in nice and easy. They do a service kit for the replacement pumps that they look more or less identical. They come with a new cover, tube and a roller all in one, and I think this gap here is fractionally wider, so you probably don't want to be putting that in if that's spreading that plastic too far apart, because it's going to push the sides out. That's something to be aware of. Okay, so we've got them tubes done, back together. We're going to look at the spray head in here. These have a fixed spray head for the washing water, which is that white blob behind the puddle. And they've got a series of little slits and pinholes that send out a water jet in various directions. And it does look to me like there's, see if you can zoom in, something stuck in there. I wouldn't like to say. Probably straw. You tend to get straw and twigs and things and little stones stuck in there. Where the tube goes on the floor when the tank is emptying it, bits get in the end. Anyway, I'm just trying this out. I usually put a barrel in there or something, but I've just bought this rope ladder off Amazon for about £7. So we're going to see how that works out. Well, if it don't work, I'll be stuck in there. So right. Right, we're in. So that's sort of worked. It's probably not very good, but it doesn't take a lot of space up in the van, so there's a compromise between having a thin ladder, plus it'll probably do for bigger tanks as well. Right, this is a bayonet fitting, so let's go up and then twist, and then you usually find it gets grit. I need 2 hands for this. It gets grit in there. Once you took it out and cleaned it, it usually fits back on easily. Okay, we just put it on to wash. It's doing the cold, well, the warm rinse at the start, and that's just spraying so well. We've got some water coming out around the lid, which is a good sign really. You know the jet's getting up there. So the pump's working. So we just want to watch the dump valve to make sure that's letting all the water out. Right, that's finished the wash and it's reading 47.7, which is better than 15. So that's the difference taking some hot water in's made. And it will be taking the right amount of chemical in now. We've not got something blocking up that little jet, so it should wash a lot better.